So having a psychology background, I'm going to take a little bit more of a human approach to it. I would say one of the most important lessons I learned at Virginia Tech came from a stats professor, Jeff Vining. And he said, quoting George Box, "All models are wrong, but some models are useful." And I think it's really important to hold this to heart when talking about AI. To grasp the concept of AI, let's start with a human mind, right? So essentially what we experience is not reality, right? It's just a representation or a model representation of reality that our mind is constructing, our brain is constructing with about 100 to 400 millisecond delay, which is kind of crazy to think about. And it's doing all of this with the power of, I think, 20 watts, which is just about a dim light bulb, right? And all of this like crazy modeling that's happening in our brain creates these emergent properties of perception, reasoning, decision-making, and learning. And so we could say that AI is our endeavor to create this type of incredible, feels like technology, right, through machines. So going more to the artificial part, Reza said it best, it's really the data that drives all of this, right? We have to digitize an incredible amount of data because the artificial part is done by machines. If you look at the history of AI, you could argue the journey began in the mid-20th century with the birth of human computing or computing in general by Alan Turing, John von Neumann, and really the hardware that came out of their inventions, right? And I can't go into the details of the history of Silicon Valley, but I bet you can imagine with Moore's law, right? It's the microtransistor that created this revolution at the end of the day. Now, going into the 2000s, that's when I think you saw a lot more of the innovation in AI, and it really came out of GPUs, right? Like we created an incredible amount of microtransistors, and GPUs, we were able to efficiently train modern neural nets on them, right? So really, it was the advancements of these algorithms that we were able to train on an incredible amount of compute that led to the innovation that we now call AI. But back in the day, you could have called it statistical learning, machine learning, right? Literally, linear regression can be thought of as AI, back in the day. So nowadays, I think the biggest models are worth mentioning are, especially in finance, there's a lot of use of gradient descent boosted trees. So with tabular data, it works really well. And now with unstructured data, we're seeing a lot of deep learning, which is how we have BERT, which is a transformer that Google created, or GPT, by OpenAI. I do also want to acknowledge, right? AI does emulate aspects of human intelligence, but it really does not replace a human. And it's very, very important to hold on to that because at the end of the day, it is a machine with ones and zeros that is doing all this work. And yet we're able to do a lot of this with whatever magic is happening in our heads, right? It is like very important to hold on to that. AI models are truly constructed from algorithms that are designed to optimize computer hardware. And that is fundamentally different from the human brain. And I do want to say that the discrepancy highlights a common misunderstanding that's fueled by anthropomorphic narratives around AI. And that often makes us overlook the limitations, including the capacity for emotions, consciousness, and moral judgments, right? Like when you're using ChatGPT, like I use it every day for work, like it's an incredible piece of software. It's easy to think that you're talking to another human potentially, and it feels a little scary, right? But it does not, it is not. And you cannot fall for that, right? Because you're really missing out on the true value of it. I really do think we should be excited, nevertheless, about LLMs and technology in general around AI. But we should not lose sight of the fact that it's just one of many tools and technologies that we have in our arsenal to solve business problems of today and tomorrow.